Hello everybody and welcome to Bayside's Cooking School. This week we are doing apple and cinnamon muffins. So we are baking. I have set my oven already to moderate, which is 180 degrees. I've washed my hands, I have the correct shoes on, I've tied my hair back, have my apron on, and I have prepared my bench. So I've got all my ingredients out ready to go or hopefully all of my utensils. When we're at school, normally we would do this with diced apple, which we get in a packet. Because you're at home, you guys will be using one apple. Now I recommend using a Granny Smith apple or a green apple because they texturally hold their shape and texture, and they don't melt. They're quite a hardy, good, what we call a cooking apple. If you don't have a cooking apple or a Granny Smith, then that's absolutely fine. You can use a red apple or whatever you have at home. So I've got a little implement here which is called a corer, an apple corer. So it has a serrated edge and you push it down into the apple. Now I'm just going to use this just to show you. If you don't have an apple corer at home, you can just cut your apple in half and then remove the core with a knife. Okay, so with the corer, place it down on the bench if you have one of these at home. Now please, if you have one of these at home, don't do this, all right? Don't stand there and push the apple corer through because you'll hurt yourself. All right, so place it firmly on the bench and hold it, and then use the serrated edge to burrow down into the apples, the top of the apple, and then push it through, and you will go all the way through. Now if you've missed the bottom of the apple or you haven't got quite all the seeds in the middle of the apple, see, I can still see that I actually have the bottom of the apple still intact there. That's okay, we'll just push that little guy out, and you can see it's a perfect little core there. And I'll just take that little bit there off and make sure that I've got everything. And then you will have an apple. Okay, so a cored apple. Now we're going to peel it as well because we're not going to have the peel in our muffins. So now you're probably old enough for me not to tell you that you don't have to peel towards you because you might hurt yourself. But a little game you can play is to see how long you can get your piece of apple without it breaking. So you can see I'm going around the apple. That's probably the simplest way for me to peel it, and I'm trying not to miss any of the peel all the way around. Let's see if I can make it. I've nearly made it. I'm going to go all the way around, and woo, I reckon that's pretty good. I'm quite proud of myself. There you go, guys, there's my apple. Now, apple skin is not too much we can do with that. You can eat it if you like apple skin, please go ahead. Or you can just put it in your compost, but I'm just going to pop it there. And I actually do have a little bit that I need to tidy up on the tops. That doesn't count. Okay, then I'm going to get my knife. I'm going to cut it in half lengthways. So then I get two halves of the apple, just like that. And I'm going to dice it. So to dice it, first of all, I'm going to slice it, and I'm going to do it in about 1 centimetre thick slices. Okay, so not huge, but also not too small. And I'm going to do both of them. All right, so try not to eat your apple when you're slicing. It looks very delicious. So there is my slice of apple. Now I'm going to dice. So I've sliced, and I'm going to turn it around, and you can see I've got my apple still in the shape, and I'm going to do 1 centimetre dice. So we're looking for a fairly even dice because we want everything to cook properly, evenly. Now, that's quite a big chunk of apple there. And I think that I'm going to even go one step further, and I might even make those slices a little bit smaller because I don't want huge chunks of apple in my muffins, and I would like my chunks of apple to go all the way in all of my muffins, just not in some. So I'm going to slice this half, or dice this half I should say. I'm going to keep my fingers out of the way of the knife into 1 centimetre slices. And I'm going to try and keep this one together. You can see that I've still got it as a whole there. And then I'm going to flip this around and just slice it there like that, making it a little bit easier to dice. But whatever is easy for you. I find I like to have a system because I'm a bit of a scatty cook and I forget what I've done, so I kind of like to have a system. So I'm just going to keep those there. So the recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of diced apple. Now I think that is probably more like a cup because there's my cup there. But you know what? I think we're going to be okay. I guess the proof will be in the pudding, right? In the muffin. So we'll see what they're like afterwards. So my next step is to sift the plain flour. So I have a sieve here. Okay, and the baking powder and cinnamon into a large bowl. Okay, so cinnamon is beautiful with apple. Cinnamon and apple are best friends, and it's really nice for them to be in together because, you know, besties like to be together, right? So we're going to pop that in there. That is my dry ingredient. Plain flour, baking powder. Now, why would we use baking powder? Because we want our muffins to rise. So we're not using self-raising flour, we're using plain flour with a little bit of baking powder. Alright, and I have 2 teaspoons of it. So that's just teaspoons, not, and be precise, because when we're baking we must be precise, because remember it's a chemical reaction. So when we cook savoury, we can kind of, you know, cut loose a little bit, but when you're baking, it's very good practice to follow the recipe pretty much exactly. Otherwise you might not get the results that you desire. And my cinnamon, now we need a teaspoon of cinnamon. Now I don't think that teaspoon can fit in there, neither can that one, so I'm going to put my 1/4 teaspoon in. And how many quarters are in 1 teaspoon? Well, obviously 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's made a whole teaspoon. All right. Now, if you don't have flour at home, because we have had trouble getting it, that's all right. You can use self-raising flour. If you don't have any flour, well, perhaps sit this one out this week. Or if you really want to cook it, and you can always email me or ring me, and you can come in and I can give you a cup of flour if you like. All right, so let's sift this. So sifting is making sure that I don't have any lumps in my mixture and also aerating it a little bit. And I'm going to use the back of my spoon to get those lumps through the sieve. All right, now I'm going to stir in the brown sugar. So I have 1/2 cup of loosely packed brown sugar. That means that I haven't pushed it down. Okay, now my brown sugar has got a few lumps in it, so I'm just going to use my hands, which I've washed, to put them in there, like so. And my apples. Okay, and then I'm going to stir it. Now I'm using a spatula today, at least I thought I was using a spatula. Where is that spatula gone? Oh, there it is. Haha, I'm using a spatula because I find it easier to cook with. So I'm going to stir this all around until combined, so to make sure my apple is coated in my flour and sugar, make sure my sugar is combined into my flour, and that means getting underneath, okay? So I see a lot of folks stirring at the top. Well, that's not a very effective technique of stirring. You really kind of have to get underneath and make sure everything's combined, so that means together. All right, now so with a lot of muffins and a lot of cakes, it's dry ingredients, which are complete, and wet ingredients. So our wet ingredients would be my egg. So I'm going to put my egg in here, and I've just cracked my egg there on the table, and this is my egg from one of my chickens at home. And then I'm going to put the oil, so I need 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, so 60 mils, that's 1/4 cup. And I need 45 mils of milk. Now 45 mils, now 60 mils in here, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it by eye. I know I said to be exact, and if you'd like to get a measuring jug, you're more than welcome. But because I've been doing this a little while, I will be able to know that I'm going to stop 15 milligrams milliliters I should say, away from my 60 grams. So I've 3/4 filled my, my 60 ml cup there, and I'm going to pop that in. All right, and then I'm going to mix until well combined. So using a fork would be a good idea. You don't need to use a whisk. We're just going to break that egg yolk up. So a lot of muffin recipes call for butter, which you would melt to mix into that, but we're using for our fat or shortening, we're using our vegetable oil. Now, I'm going to make a well in the centre of my ingredients. So a well means I'm going to make a little hole in the middle of my dry ingredients, because I want to pour my wet ingredients in there and then incorporate it. Now, it's really important that we don't over-mix our muffins, okay? Because if we over-mix them, they'll turn out tough. So it's a real, if you want nice, soft, tender muffins, then you mustn't over-mix. So your mixing technique is going to be really important here. So I'm just going to mix it around. Remember, fold it almost in. Now I know quite a few of you are keen bakers, so you're probably quite good at this. Miss Follett's muffins are much better than my muffins, but I never give up. I'm always trying. Okay, so I hope that these might be my most perfect muffins yet. So I'm going underneath and I'm just making sure that I really have no dry flour yet left. And you can see, well perhaps you can't, I'll show you in a moment, that it's not a very wet mixture, and I'll just put that there, a little bit left once my bowl is settled. Remember, we don't waste a thing in here. All right, now you guys can see that I don't have any dry flour left in my mixture, okay? Then I'm going to use a spoon to put my muffins into a pre-prepared muffin tray. So I've got my muffin patties in there, or my patty cases in there. Now, this is a bit of an exercise in portion control. So start off small, and then you can always add later. If you put too much in the first one, and then by the time you get to the end one, you've got a tiny bit left, then it's very difficult to make them even. So when we're doing this, we're also practicing our portion control. All right, so I'm going to do just over a tablespoon of mixture. Now the recipe says it makes 8, and I'm going to try and stick to that. If you would like larger muffins, perhaps you can try doing 6, but I will try 8. All right, I'm going to pop it in here. If you'd like to make them with wholemeal flour, you're welcome. If you have wholemeal flour at home, you can do that too. Just make sure you add the baking powder. All right. They look lovely. Nearly done here. Oh, that one's a bit big. Remember I said, start off small, and then you can always go back. If you overfill, it's difficult. Okay, so I've just about got it. Now I'm looking. Okay, so I've got a little bit of mixture left. I don't quite have enough for one whole muffin, but I can add these, and I'm using my finger here. You guys can use a spoon if you don't like the feel of the mixture on your hands. I'm just going to come in. That one looks like it could use a little bit. This guy here looks like he could use a little bit. And I'm going to make sure I get all of my mixture, because you know, we love food but we hate waste. I'm going to pop it in there, and I'm going to use my spatula to get the last of it off, because that's the most effective method. Okay, now that looks pretty good. Oh, I reckon I could get more out of that. Then I'm going to now put these into the oven for around 20 minutes, and you can use a skewer if you like, a wooden skewer, to check that you put the skewer in the middle and then pull it out, and if there's nothing on it, that means they're cooked. Now just open the oven. Be careful when you open it, because you don't want to be standing over it and it blasts you with hot air in the face. So just open it up from the side, put your your muffin tray in, and then you can cook them for 20 minutes. Now, if you've got stuff around the edges of your muffin tray, when it's baked on, it's a lot harder to clean off. So my advice to you would be to take a look, and if there's any bits of mixture on your muffin tin, then just wipe it off with a cloth or with your finger before you put it in the oven, because it makes for a lot easier cleaning at the end. Okay, I have brought my muffins out of the oven and they're looking pretty good. Now I used an oven mitt to get my muffin tray out of the oven, and I'm not going to put it on my laminated or plastic bench, because I don't want my plastic bench or the laminate to melt. Alright, so if you can put something out, that is excellent. So I'm just going to pop that there. Now, okay, so I've got my cooling rack out and I'm going to carefully take out my muffins. And I'm just going to pop them there because I don't want them to sweat, and they feel a little bit nice and kind of crispy on the outside. So I don't want to lose that nice kind of crispier, crunchier on the outside and nice and soft in the middle. So I've made my 8. Now, I'm pretty happy with my portion control. It's not perfect, but they're homemade, so that's okay. Now, I want to show you guys, so when you go to eat them, you take off the patty, obviously, and then you can take them out, and you can always put your muffins like that back on the cooling rack and take them all off, or if you're going to take them to school or have them for morning tea, then just keep the wrappers on. And also you can freeze if you made a double batch. Don't double the baking powder, just put 2 teaspoons of baking powder in. If you're going to double it, just look up on the internet for the correct ratios. And then you can freeze these as well. So if you're not going to eat them all and you want them to be nice and fresh. So now I'm going to see, are my muffins nice and soft? They smell amazing. I wish you guys could smell them. And then I'm going to try, they're a bit warm, but I'll just see. Just make sure they're not poisonous, because you know. Nice and soft, not too sweet. A little bit crunchy on the outside, soft in the middle. The apple is cooked. They smell amazing. I think they're a good muffin. So good luck making them all, everybody, and don't forget to send me in your photos. You can show me the production process and the end product, and then you also need to make sure that you do your 3-level reading guide, which precedes this recipe. All right, thank you very much, everybody, and happy baking.